Well, friends and neighbors, another week has come and gone, and we're almost about into April. Can you believe it? I can't believe I'm even saying those words. April 2021. Shoo, time is a-flying, as they say. But, well, in the words of Marvin Gaye, let's just get it on right here and move on with the show, though. I got some shout-outs this week. I've got a new patron, Andrew DeLong. Thank you, sir, for signing up as a patron. And also got a couple of donations, one from my old buddy Ann Wagner, mostly from Facebook, I do believe. But Ann is a long-time supporter of the Appalachian Project, and she sent a generous donation. And she said, Shane, here's a little something for coffee on the roadways. Be safe out there, Ann. I got your letter, Ann, and I haven't forgotten Kioki. I will do that for you, or I will die trying. So I almost went a couple weeks ago, had it scheduled, and it rained me out, but Kioki is on the radar. And I got another one from an anonymous source here, but I will hold your card up so you'll know that I got it. Thank you so much, and I'll read the first part. The second part gets kind of personal, and I don't want to give any details away. Shane, keep up the great work. You're bringing joy to us. Good, clean YouTube. That's what I try to keep it. But the rest of I'll keep that kind of between us, but I do want you to know that I have kept you and your family in my prayers. So thank you so much for the donation, but I really, my thoughts and prayers are with you. So just want you to know that. Moving right along, I had a poll on the YouTube community page, which I didn't even know existed till, a couple months ago. But I put a poll up there, and it ended up getting quite a few votes. So I put up 4 options for towns to hit up. I called it March Madness Final 4, and it was, one option was Van Lear, Kentucky, which would be home of Loretta Lynn, of course, her famous butcher holler. Then we got Mount Airy, North Carolina, Andy Griffith's hometown, and the place Mayberry was based upon. We had Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, the Trail of Dolly Parton, and finally we had Coalwood, West Virginia, Homer Hickham's Rocket Boys setting. And as of this moment, there's 344 votes, so I think we can not worry about the outstanding absentee ballots. I don't think that'd be enough to change the election. We do have a winner, and I'm a little bit surprised, a little bit, not a lot, but the winner was with 40%, so it's a pretty clear victory, was Coalwood, West Virginia. So Homer Hickham's Rocket Boys setting. I will be making a trip very shortly there, and I look forward to that because it's been a while since I've been there. Second place was Van Lear at 29%. We had Mount Airy at 20%, and Pigeon Forge came in with 11%. And I think a lot of that's because I already went to Pigeon Forge recently, so a lot of people have at least seen the area, although I'm still going to do all these, hopefully. And when I do the Dolly Parton one, I'm going to go more of the Locust Ridge section you don't see so much, which is where she is actually from. But thank you all for voting. 344 votes. Wow, I thought it'd be more like 44 votes, so I'm happy to see the participation, and we'll do a few more things like that in the future. I think it's fun. I think it's kind of cool to get the feedback. But moving into the history piece, we'll start on March 29th. And in 1962, a man named Robert Nutting was born in Wheeling, West Virginia, and he is the president and CEO, or president and chairman of the board, I should say, of the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball team. He's president and CEO of Ogden Newspapers, and that's where he made a lot of his money, and he also owns interest in some resorts out there. Another person born on that day is 1834 in Frankfort, West Virginia. It's a man by the name of Henry Matthews, and he was the 5th governor of West Virginia, and he was the first former Confederate to become an elected governor in the entire United States. So he was the first person to overcome the, stigma, of being a Confederate soldier. So he also has some glorious facial hair, as you can see, and I'm thinking he might be the basis for the Kentucky Headhunters drummer. Believe me, I would grow some hair like that too if I could. I look like I got the mange. I don't know what the problem is. It just doesn't do any better than what I got now. And that's even getting pretty gray, which is a double whammy. And I'm not a just for men type of guy. I just can't go there. Plus I'm too cheap. It's probably more. I'm pretty vain, but I'm pretty cheap too. But I love it. I love that look. Moving on, it's kind of like somebody took an axe and chopped the beard. March 30th, Peter Marshall was born. And He was born in Huntington, West Virginia in 1926, and he's an actor, singer, radio personality, and TV host, and you'll most remember him for being the host of Hollywood Squares. He hosted that show from 1966 till 1981, which would be the Paul Lynde era, which was quite funny to hear the banter between those two. He was elected into the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame in 2013, and he won 4 daytime Emmys for his work on Hollywood Squares. And he lived in Huntington until he was about 10, and his father tragically committed suicide. So he moved to be back with his mother in New York City at the age of 10. And he went on to accomplish a lot. And he is still with us, relatively healthy from what I understand, at the age of 94. So happy birthday, Peter Marshall, if you're out there. Going on to March 31st. It is the birth date of a man named Ed Catmull from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and he was a co-founder of the Pixar Studios, which is famous for probably Toy Story franchise. It was what really launched them as a massive entity, and of course now they're part of Disney. And he is now the president of Walt Disney Animated Studios. So he went on to bigger and better things in his life. He was born in 1945, so happy birthday to Ed Catmull. March 31st, in 1948 is the birth date of Al Gore Jr., and he was born in Washington, D.C., but he spent most of his time, not most of his time, but he split time between Washington, D.C. and Carthage, Tennessee, which is in Smith County, Tennessee, which is about as extreme Appalachia as you can get, but it is still Appalachia, believe it or not. So, of course, if you don't know who that is, he was originally a senator from Tennessee, and he went on to become the 45th Vice President of the United States, serving under Bill Clinton, and he came within, missed it by that much, of being president of these United States in 2000 when he lost to George W. Bush in the hotly disputed election in Florida. And that was the hanging Chad infamous result. I'm not going to stick too much on this because I don't do politics too much, but I've often thought how rough that would be on you mentally to have come that close. And I'm shocked that he never did decide to run again. I don't know if that just took that much out of him, or I don't know, but I've tried to put myself in his shoes and think, man, how devastating that would be. And to top it all off, he lost his home state of Tennessee. So if he could have won his own people, he would have been president with no questions asked, but didn't get the job done. So I'll got to go on with life, I guess. On that note, take a little drink here. Yes, that is a Spider-Man cup. No, I don't know where it even came from, but it's good. April 1st. Well, a man, and it's April Fool's Day, but I don't have any jokes for that. A man by the name of Simon Bulover Buckner was born in 1823 in Munfordville, Kentucky, which is in Hart County. He was a soldier in the Mexican-American War, and of course he became a general in the Confederate Army and served in that. And he was actually the first general in the Civil War to surrender his army in 1862. He surrendered after the Battle of Fort Donelson. He surrendered to U.S. Grant, and of course that was the infamous unconditional surrender grant. So he surrendered and served some time in prison from that. But he went on after that, another person who went on to be a governor. He was the 30th governor of Kentucky in 1887. So well after the end of the Civil War, he went on to life of public service. And that is Mr. Simon Bulover Buckner. Also on that day was the tragic plane crash that killed NASCAR racer Alan Kulwicki. And he had went to Knoxville to the Hooters, which was of course his sponsor, and he went for a personal appearance and was flying back to Bristol for the spring race when he crashed just a little bit outside of Blounteville, Tennessee. And of course that killed him and took his life away at the age of 38. Odd how NASCAR and flights don't go so well there, because as I recall, just a year or two ago, I don't know, maybe it's 20, my memory, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. had that little incident where it looked like he might be in some trouble, but fortunately he was able to escape his predicament unscathed. But NASCAR has some issues flying around these parts for some reason. April 2nd, a man named Dan Moore was born in 1906 in Asheville, North Carolina, and he went on to be the 66th governor of North Carolina, and that's about all you can say about him. Moving on to April 3rd, nothing happened, so we're going down here. This is going to go quickly. April 4th. A lady by the name of Constance Shulman was born in 1958, and she's an actress. You probably most know her for her role as Yoga Jones in Orange is the New Black, but I have not seen 5 minutes of that show, so I most know her for being a tour operator in the movie Weekend at Bernie's 2. I love that movie. I love Weekend at Bernie's, the first one, much better, but I love them both. That is one of my guilty pleasures, so I remember her in that movie. But anyway, she was born in Johnson City in 1958. Last but not least, we have the Grundy Flood of 1977, and in that day, it was 16 inches of rain hit that town and just completely wiped it out. I've heard people talk about that. I worked in Grundy for about 6 or 8 months way back when, and well, about early 2000s, I guess. And they were still talking about how that flood just devastated. It really was the beginning of the end of that town's glory days, I guess is what you would call it, because a lot of the businesses didn't come back, and it started a population drop that continued even to today as a lot of people moved away, and they ended up, because of the flooding problems, they really moved the whole town around. They moved it across the river and rerouted the water, and it was just a really bizarre thing to live through, because when I was working there, they were working on that, and I mean, it just seemed like it would never end. And then it finally came to fruition, and as they were moving, they bought a lot of people's houses out and that kind of thing, and a lot of those people just moved away and never came back because, I mean, just wasn't the same, and the town doesn't look the same, it doesn't feel the same when you go through. It's kind of sad, really, in a lot of ways. And they have the unique triple-decker Walmart, one of a kind, which is still in existence, and there's actually a song about that. We got a Walmart in Grundy by Danye East, I think it was. You can look that up on YouTube if you've never heard it. It's kind of cute. A guy named Dan Deal did that, but that's the story of the Grundy Flood of 1977, which is kind of funny. All these stories are coming up because the Bristol Motor Speedway flooded out today, which I posted a video of. It was a bad-looking scene, nothing like what Grundy got hit with, but this time of year, you just don't know what you're going to get. It's really a blessing that just a race got knocked out. I don't hear of any fatalities or anything like that, so that's always a blessing. But that will wrap up this week. I'll see you guys again next week, and there will be more action, thrills, and excitement in This Week in Appalachia. And thank you all guys for liking and subscribing. If you enjoy this kind of thing, please hit the old subscribe button and then ring that little bell that gets the notifications and all that stuff. And then I just hit my mic. Hopefully that didn't hurt your ears too much, if you hung around this long enough to begin with, which is kudos to you if you did. See you next week. Thanks.